So before we work in the kitchen, we always want to make sure that our hands are clean and that we're wearing the right clothes. So in order to make sure that our hands are as clean as they can possibly be, we're going to start with hand washing. And yes, there is a proper way to start washing your hands. So first we're going to remove all of our jewelry, because our jewelry can contain bacteria and bits of dirt. So we're going to take all of that off, and we're going to leave it to the side for the whole time that we work in the kitchen. Plain wedding bands that don't have grooves are okay, but things that do have grooves in them you want to take off. Again, watches, rings, anything of that nature. And then we're going to turn on our water, and we're going to get it to as hot as we can stand. So it won't be burning, but it is going to be really warm, and that's going to help to remove any of the germs that we might have on our hands. We're also going to use some soap. We're going to get a really good lather, and it's really important that we wash our hands for 20 seconds. I'm going to show you some techniques once the water gets going, but before then I wanted to talk a little bit about making sure that we wash our hands for the full 20 seconds. So you can count, or some tips and tricks are to sing the happy birthday song to yourself 2 times through, and that'll be about 20 seconds. You can also sing yourself ABCs, or maybe you can just take a snippet of some song that you like and make sure that you're getting your full 20 seconds in, and make this a little bit more enjoyable so you're more likely to do it. Another important thing is to use paper towels when you're done. The reason why you want to use paper towels is because once you're done, you can go ahead and dry your hands and throw them away, and they're not going to harbor bacteria, and they're not going to be, you don't have to worry about how they're cleaned. Whereas if you use the standard dish towel, it might not be clean, and it might already have bacteria on it, and so then you're just undoing the work that you just did. So let's get started. Again, we're going to start with as hot as water as we can stand. There we go. And get our hands nice and wet. Fair amount of soap. Work up a good lather, and we're going to start counting. So while we wash our hands, turn that off for a second. So while we wash our hands, we're going to try to move up our arm. You don't have to go to the elbow, but you do want to get a good hand's width up your arm to make sure that there aren't any germs that are harbored there. You might be kneading some dough, and that's going to come up your arm. So you want to make sure that even down your arms a little bit has been washed free of germs. You're going to want to make sure that you get the palms of your hands, and right underneath your fingernail, a way to do that is to rub your fingernails into the palm of your other hand. If you're going to be working in the kitchen a lot, it's a really good idea to keep your nails short and trimmed and free of nail polish, so that again, there's no places that bacteria can live and survive, and that no nail polish gets loose from your fingers and into somebody's food, because that's not very safe and tasty either. Another thing that I'm doing is I'm making sure I'm getting in between my fingers, again, to make sure there's no germs there either. Even if I'm going to be using gloves, I'm still going to wash my hands really well beforehand, again using that 20-second rule. Another thing that I'm doing is making sure that I'm not touching the handle with my clean hands. Before my hands were clean, I touched that handle to turn on the water. So I infected it with some bacteria that might be on my hands. So it's important that when possible to try to turn off running water with either a paper towel or with your elbow, depending on how you can, depending on what you've got. Another thing is, if you absolutely don't have a sink available, maybe you're out camping or at a picnic, you can use hand sanitizer, but it's not as good as washing your hands. So that's really only to be used in situations where there's just absolutely no other alternative to hand washing before food preparation. So don't forget to practice this. I hope you enjoy singing happy birthday to yourself. And remember, wash your hands before you start working in the kitchen, whenever you touch your clothes, your skin, or your hair, whenever you leave the kitchen, whenever you go to the bathroom, if you were to eat something or drink something while you're preparing your food, if you got to smoke a cigarette, any of those times where you're not touching food, you're going to want to come back and wash your hands. Another good time is when you are touching food, if you're working with raw meat or raw foods, and then moving to ready to eat foods. So for instance, if you're working with chicken, before you start working on a salad that's going to be eaten right away, you're going to want to come back and wash your hands in between. So just some quick tips. You can also refer to our cookbook for any time that you have any questions.